Welcome back to The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I'd like to send you a warm welcome. Here I talk about issues that happen within the Black community, hopefully for some resolution or at least some food for thought to go about your daily way. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce this episode's topic, which is the struggle to identify with Black beauty in a Black hated society. So, I wanted to start off by making a small disclaimer. This is not education to hate anyone of any shade or tone, but this is indeed an episode to educate the Black man and woman not to just love other people, but love themselves as well. Because we have a habit, some of us, of loving everybody else, thinking everybody else is beautiful, but we struggle to think that we are beautiful when we look in the mirror. So, I wanted to start off with a bit of history. Some of you know, some of you were brought up in that era, especially if you're over, 65 or 60 years of age. You were brought up in an era that included the Brown versus the Board of Education. So, if there's any young people listening, if you've never heard of this was a court hearing about Black children being conditioned, and to be able to participate in school, they had to pass a test. And this test was the Black doll versus the white doll. So, our Black children were put inside of a room, with a white teacher to point out the differences in the Black doll and the white doll. Basically, they were mentally conditioned to point to the Black doll if the teacher said, "Who's the bad doll?" The Black child was instructed to point to the Black doll. "Who's the criminal? Who's the unattractive? Who's the ugly doll?" The Black child would pass if they said or pointed towards the Black doll. They were also conditioned to believe and to say who's the innocent, who's the most beautiful, and, all the positive traits. They were taught to point to the white doll. Now, 1954 is past and gone, and, there's no more quote unquote segregation, but a lot of these practices have passed through our generations. And now, I would like to talk about the year 2021. So we're no longer in school having to point out a Black or white doll, but what are we doing now that's still pointing to ourselves and how we're taught and how we teach our own children and our own people to have these negative concepts about ourselves? The first thing I'd like to talk about is skin bleaching cream. Everybody has a right to do what they want to do with their own skin and their own body, but it's troubling the reasons behind why, especially our Black sisters, they want to bleach their own skin. And this is some type of solution that you place upon your skin, and it's supposedly to lighten your skin. And what makes me bring this up is that there's a community, of course, online, everything's viral nowadays, but they're really coming down on this celebrity. She's very well known, a very much well known household name. And, if you're like me, you've seen this sister. I won't say her name. She's very athletic, and she's dominated a sport basically that, Black people are very scarce in. And so she struggled throughout time, as many darker, especially with African features or from the island features, have struggled with their beauty, with men, maybe being the last pick, with a lot of men. And just how the media has come across and, would say things. And quite honestly, even Black men have made certain um, remarks as far as her looking like a man. And, that's one thing that we need to correct in our community as far as the Black woman. We're not to be compared with white women. We're not built like white women. Our bone structures are not like white women. And we don't have thin bones. We're built like black men. Every woman is built in their man's image, but the female trait. So as strong and big as, and the bone structure of black men, their female counterpart um, is a woman, and we're built like you all in a feminine way. So and it's one thing for non-black people to make fun and say, oh, this black sister looks like a man, or this black sister looks like a man. Some of them may be transgender, who knows. We don't know them personally, these celebrities. But it's another thing for this just to be a way of degrading black women. The size of their feet, the broadness of their shoulders, the darkness of their skin, and the wide nose. These are features that black people who have less European blood have in them. And it's sad when our sisters feel like they have to bleach their skin to be more acceptable in this society. Another thing is, um, black women's hair is oppressed. Sometimes black men's hair is oppressed too, but they're more freely to wear their natural hair. They don't, and a lot of black men will say, or who really are not conscious, don't understand the difficulties and the discrimination that, especially African American women with curly hair, tight curled hair, natural black hair, not, biracial or, have any type of wave to it. People treat you different. They can be hostile. They can be violent. When someone places their hand on you and places their hand in your hair, that can be an assault. And just the comments that are made to the black woman. And like I said in another episode, the black man goes through his oppression in this country, but so does the black woman. And I don't think it's any more or less. It's just in different methods that they choose to oppress us. Another thing is, um, it's now to a point where we think our own selves are ugly. Okay, so we've been taught, like I said, with the Brown versus the Board of Education, and with different methods on TV and stuff. Now it's come to a point that we think we're unattractive when we look in the mirror. You know, and the thing is, they could never trick you into being unattractive if you have the knowledge of who you are and where you come from as a black person. They can never trick you into thinking that you're ugly, if you have the knowledge. And I think the thing that really is ironic is that when you look at specifically Caucasians, they tan. They tan for a chance at the temporary appearance of melanin. So they'll sit, not all white people, but hey, the white people that this refers to, they will sit and talk about darky, they'll say shine, all these things. And they're somewhere sitting out frying their skin till it becomes red, getting, cancer, melanoma, and, their cells are becoming malignant just to sit out in the sun long enough just to get a fraction of complexion that we have. And then if you confront them on this, they'll say, oh no, I don't want to be black, I don't want to, I don't want to be dark. But what are you doing, you know going out getting a tan? And here we are, some of us are trying to get rid of what some people secretly would love to have. Okay, and the one thing about our hair that is so beautiful, that a lot of white women, they have to put perms inside of their hair just to get their hair curly. Okay, and as a black woman or man, they don't want us to mate with each other. Okay, and they want us to mate with each other as less as possible so that we won't have black children. Okay, so, like I said, they've convinced us that we were unattractive. It's okay if we have children. There's nothing wrong with having interracial children. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's a problem and a point where you seek out just to have children with another race just because you want to water down. So it's one thing for you to fall in love with somebody and they're there for you and you're there for them. Y'all get married and y'all have children. That's one thing for love. But it's one thing to subconsciously or consciously seek out, someone that's a different race than you just so they won't, be as black as you. And it's just troubling for us as black people, some of us, that we feel this way. And another thing I would like to question, you know, my black brothers and sisters on. Do you hear white people calling themselves ugly as much as we call ourselves ugly? Do you? You don't. You don't hear that. Okay? And I also want to say, my dear black man and especially black woman, I want you to turn off that commercial. Turn off that TV. If you want to see true beauty, study your own features and look at yourself as long as it takes. Okay, so if it takes you an hour to stare in that mirror, if it takes you a few minutes every day to look in the mirror, okay, however long it takes for you to know you are exceptionally beautiful and one of a kind. The black man and woman was God's first creation of humankind. A lot of people don't like to talk about that. Even black people, we're scared to talk about it. But we are the first humans on earth, our ancestors, the black African DNA. So we are the first image of what God, so forget what anyone else thinks, okay? We are the first image of what God perceived as beautiful, okay? Therefore, the concept of beauty originates with us. So, how could the beauty of what the real standard of beauty, okay, from the original man and woman, which is the black man and woman, okay, and then all beauty derives from us and comes from us, and now we're the ones calling ourselves ugly at times. That doesn't make any sense. We've been conditioned to believe this way. And I wanted to say, you must mentally and spiritually reject any concepts that speak in contradiction to your self worth. I'm going to repeat that. You must mentally and spiritually reject any concept from anybody, even if it's other black people, if it's white people, that speak in contradiction to your self worth. You must protect your self worth and your image. Look, it's been a pleasure talking with you all. I love you all. If you felt this message, please hit like or the subscribe button. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can get in contact with me at thetruthwithtrinity.com. You can also listen to my podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. And always remember, if you can't tell the truth with anyone else, you can with Trinity. Till next time, take care.